The Arctic, a vast expanse of ice and snow, holds a secret. Beneath its icy surface lies a treasure trove of resources. Oil, natural gas, minerals and fish are all found in abundance in this remote part of the world. As global demand for these resources grows, so too does the interest in unlocking the Arctic's potential. But this potential comes at a cost. The race for the Arctic has begun, with countries and corporations vying for a piece of the pie. This competition raises important questions about environmental protection, international law, and the rights of indigenous peoples. The Arctic is not just a frozen wasteland, it is a delicate ecosystem home to unique wildlife and cultures. The decisions made today about the Arctic's future will have far-reaching consequences. It is essential to understand the stakes involved and the players at the table if we are to ensure a sustainable future for this fragile region. The Arctic, once a place of scientific exploration and indigenous cultures, has become a focal point for international relations and economic competition. Several nations are vying for control and influence in the Arctic. The Arctic Council, an intergovernmental forum, includes the 8 Arctic states, Canada, Denmark, representing Greenland, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and the United States. Each country has its own interests in the region. Russia, with its long Arctic coastline and dependence on natural resources, has been particularly active in asserting its presence in the region. It has invested heavily in icebreakers, military bases, and oil and gas exploration. Canada, too, has been strengthening its Arctic capabilities, emphasizing its sovereignty over the Northwest Passage. The United States, while less assertive than Russia, has also shown a renewed interest in the Arctic. It has released several strategic documents outlining its Arctic policy, focusing on security, environmental protection, and economic development. The race for the Arctic is not just about resources, it is also about geopolitical influence and strategic advantage. The Arctic is believed to hold vast reserves of untapped resources. The United States Geological Survey estimates that the Arctic contains approximately 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its undiscovered natural gas. These resources are becoming increasingly accessible as climate change melts Arctic sea ice, opening up new shipping routes and exploration opportunities. In addition to oil and gas, the Arctic is rich in minerals such as zinc, iron ore, nickel, and diamonds. These minerals are essential for various industries, including construction, manufacturing, and technology. The Arctic also boasts abundant fish stocks, making it a critical region for the global fishing industry. The potential economic benefits of Arctic resource development are enormous. However, it is crucial to balance these benefits against the potential environmental consequences. The Arctic is a fragile ecosystem, and any resource extraction must be done responsibly and sustainably. Resource extraction in the Arctic poses significant environmental risks. Oil spills, habitat destruction, and pollution from mining activities could have devastating consequences for the region's delicate ecosystem. Climate change is already having a profound impact on the Arctic, melting sea ice, thawing permafrost, and altering wildlife migration patterns. Increased human activity in the region would only exacerbate these problems. Shipping traffic, for example, introduces noise and air pollution, while also increasing the risk of oil spills. The Arctic's cold, pristine environment makes it particularly vulnerable to pollution, as contaminants break down more slowly in cold temperatures. Protecting the Arctic environment is essential, not just for the sake of the region itself, but for the planet as a whole. The Arctic plays a crucial role in regulating global climate patterns, and its continued health is vital for the well-being of the entire planet. Any development in the Arctic must prioritize environmental protection and sustainability. Section 5. Rules of the Frozen Game. International law provides a framework for governing the Arctic, but it is complex and, in some cases, contested. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, is the primary international treaty governing maritime activities, including resource exploration and extraction. UNCLOS establishes a country's rights and responsibilities over its maritime zones, including its territorial sea, exclusive economic zone, and continental shelf. However, there are overlapping claims and disputes over maritime boundaries in the Arctic, particularly between Canada, Denmark, which includes Greenland, and Russia. The Arctic Council, while not a treaty-based organization, plays a crucial role in fostering cooperation and dialogue among Arctic states and indigenous peoples. It promotes sustainable development and environmental protection in the region. Effective governance of the Arctic requires international cooperation, adherence to international law, and the meaningful participation of indigenous peoples. Section 6. The power of icebreakers. Icebreakers are specialized ships designed to navigate through ice-covered waters, making them essential for accessing and operating in the Arctic. They are used for a variety of purposes, including scientific research, resource exploration, shipping, and military operations. Russia currently possesses the world's largest and most powerful icebreaker fleet, giving it a significant advantage in the region. Russia's icebreaker fleet allows it to maintain year-round access to its Arctic coastline, transport goods and resources, and project power in the region. Other Arctic states, including Canada, the United States, and China, are also investing in expanding their icebreaker capabilities. The development and deployment of icebreakers raise important questions about environmental impact and strategic competition. The construction and operation of icebreakers can have significant environmental consequences, particularly in terms of noise pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, and the risk of oil spills. The growing number of icebreakers operating in the Arctic highlights the increasing importance of this region for both economic and strategic reasons. Section 7. Corporate players, a balancing act. While nations are the primary players in the Arctic, corporations also play a significant role in the race for resources. Oil and gas companies, mining companies, and shipping companies are all eager to capitalize on the Arctic's economic potential. However, corporate involvement in the Arctic must be balanced with environmental protection and social responsibility. Many corporations are adopting responsible business practices in the Arctic, such as investing in environmentally friendly technologies, engaging with indigenous communities, and supporting scientific research. However, there are also concerns about corporate influence over government policy and the potential for environmental damage. The Arctic Council has developed guidelines for responsible business practices in the Arctic, and several international organizations are working to promote corporate social responsibility in the region. It is essential to ensure that corporate activities in the Arctic are conducted sustainably and ethically, respecting the rights of indigenous peoples and the fragility of the Arctic environment. Section 8. Indigenous voices, guardians of the Arctic. Indigenous peoples have lived in the Arctic for millennia, relying on its resources for their livelihoods and cultural survival. They possess invaluable traditional knowledge about the Arctic environment and are disproportionately affected by climate change and resource development. Their voices must be heard in any discussions about the Arctic's future. Indigenous peoples have the right to self-determination and to participate in decision-making processes that affect their lands, territories, and resources. They are calling for greater recognition of their rights, meaningful participation in Arctic governance, and a share of the benefits from resource development. The Arctic Council recognizes the importance of indigenous knowledge and participation, granting permanent participant status to 6 indigenous organizations. However, there is still a need for greater inclusion of indigenous voices in Arctic decision-making processes at all levels. Section 9. The future of the Arctic, a shared responsibility. The future of the Arctic is uncertain, but one thing is clear: it is a shared responsibility. The decisions made today about the Arctic's resources, environment, and governance will have far-reaching consequences for generations to come. It is essential to strike a balance between economic development, environmental protection, and the rights of indigenous peoples. International cooperation is crucial for addressing the challenges and opportunities presented by the Arctic. The Arctic Council provides a vital forum for dialogue and collaboration among Arctic states and indigenous peoples. However, there is a need for strengthened international agreements and institutions to manage Arctic resources sustainably and prevent conflict. The Arctic is a reminder that we are all interconnected and that our actions have global consequences. It is a region of immense beauty, cultural diversity, and ecological importance. It is up to us to ensure that its future is one of sustainability, cooperation, and respect for all.